For it is bearable, it is honorable to lose in a contest that is fair, but nobody who steals political power will use it for good. These are the words of Dike Chukwumeriji, who is a Nigerian spoken word and performance poetry artist and author. He has 8 published books, including the novel Uri Chendere, which won the 2013 Association of Nigerian Authors Prize for Prose Fiction. Dike joins us now to perform the Kidnap of Hope. Dike, I want to first say thank you very much for joining us. I will give you the floor to perform this particular poetry that has been garnering quite a lot of attention and also going viral.
I voted for Peter Obi, but I did not jump any queue for Peter Obi. I did not smuggle anybody into the polling booth for Peter Obi. I did not brandish a knife or threaten anybody in my polling unit for Peter Obi. I did not snatch a ballot box, stuff a ballot box, break a ballot box for Peter Obi. I did not pay anybody to change any results for Peter Obi. I did not steal, I did not kill for Peter Obi. What I did for my candidate was stand in line. From 8 in the morning on Saturday till 8 in the morning on Sunday. And when the sun got too hot and I thought of going back home, I remembered shot to death on the train to Kaduna, and I stayed. And when the heavens opened and poured down rain, and I thought of running away to find safety, I remembered. Stuck at home for months because of ASU strike, and I stayed. Through my hunger, through my thirst, through my worry whether the children I left at home were fine, I stayed. Because what I wanted to give my candidate, what I ended up putting in that ballot box, was not a piece of paper. What I ended up putting in that ballot box was my hope for a country where young people would not be so disillusioned by the actions of their own parents, of their own leaders, that they will be willing to risk crossing the Sahara Desert on foot just to escape. That was what I put in that ballot box. That was what my presiding officer refused to upload for 3 days. The future of that young boy who stood with me, who stood with us as we counted those votes through the night. He was a first-time voter, pregnant with hope. But somewhere between the polling unit and the collation center, that boy's future was waylaid by a politician. A politician that used biro to cross out his destiny. A politician that found where that boy had written hope and wrote over it, hopeless. Yes. It is a terrible thing when a Nigerian is kidnapped on the way to Zamfara or Makurdi or Enugu. But it is infinitely worse when Nigeria herself is kidnapped on the way to the collation center. I tell you, my brother, my sister, it is not Nigeria that has her foot on your neck. It is not the Fulani or the Igbo, the Christian or the Muslim that has their finger wrapped around your neck and are now squeezing the civic life out of you. It is not those Yoruba people that don't give a damn whether you eat, whether you have a decent house to sleep in, whether you're able to find a job 5 years after graduating. It is not North or South that uses 8 years to build one bridge or to repair one pothole in the middle of your road. It is that politician who is willing to kill, who is willing to steal to stay in power. That is your enemy.
Very powerful piece
So
there.
many of you have been so serially abused that you have now fallen in love with your kidnapper. That you now hail the swagger of those who steal destinies. You admire the confidence of those who use the future of the Almajiri to fuel their cars. But not me. Me, I would rather be a gate man in heaven than a king in hell. Me, my heart will always be there, standing in line with that young boy, waiting patiently for the day when our hopes will count. Nigeria, count our hopes, for it is bearable, it is honorable to lose in a contest that is fair. But nobody who steals political power will use it for good. Nigeria, count our hopes. Thank you.
Oh, Dike, very, very, very powerful piece. I mean, we were all held spellbound here in the studio. I don't need to ask what inspired this piece. I think it's clear. But while we're talking about the Kidnap of Hope, are you still hopeful that this piece you just performed can engineer a change, that this mandate that you clearly believe was stolen, because I can hear it when you perform, that you believe something has been stolen from you. Are you hopeful that it can still be reclaimed, probably through the law courts?
Yes, I remain hopeful. We're going to court. Peter Obi is going to court. And I believe that the courts will do justice. We'll find justice in the courts.
And you talked about what I would describe as the Stockholm syndrome of Nigerian politics. We get so used to this suffering and learning how to adapt within a system that it becomes the norm and we begin to embrace it. What advice do you have for the youth who, like you described in the poem, are being glamorized by the swagger and being distracted by the swagger and just the entire lifestyle of those who, quote unquote, would be robbing us of our destinies, using biro to cross out our destinies? What advice do you have for them, especially leading into the March 11th gubernatorial elections?
My advice to all young people is do not give up hope. This is still a moral universe. And no matter how long it takes, the light always triumphs over the darkness. These are things that we learn from home, that we learned in our churches, that we learn in our mosques, to believe that there is a God and that in the end, justice will be done. But many Nigerians have faith and believe this thing in the spiritual realm or in the social space. When it comes to politics, we believe that a different set of spiritual laws or natural laws applies to Nigerian politics. As in Nigerian politics, you can do anything and get away with it. But I'm here to tell you that what is true in the spiritual realm is also true in the realm of politics. And that eventually, as long as there are people who refuse to compromise on their values and their faith, eventually that faith will produce an outcome. This is not a sprint, it is a marathon. It may take 100 years. It took 100 years in South Africa, from the time the ANC was formed till it got into power. It took 100 years in the United States, from the time that the Jim Crow laws were brought into place and discrimination, till you had the Civil Rights Act passed. It can take 50 years, it can take 25 years. But know that as surely as the sun rises in the east and sets in the west, freedom will come. And what is that freedom? It's not for any particular person to become president or to become a leader of the country. Freedom is to have a country where the law matters, where everybody is subject to the law, where the law is obeyed routinely. A country of strong laws and institutions where the rights of everybody, no matter how weak they are, is respected. Because if we had a country like that today, then you would not have INEC running an election contrary to its own rules and being okay with it. That is wrong. That is injustice. What we're saying is we want a country where the laws are obeyed by all, great and small, mighty and weak. Whoever you are subject to the same law. Whatever the outcome of that process is, we will accept it. And that is the country we are building. That is the country we will have. That is a country that is founded on unity and justice. Because without justice, there cannot be unity. Justice is a foundation for a peaceful and united society. And we must lay that foundation in Nigeria.
All right, you say we must lay the foundation here in Nigeria. Now, Dike, my own question is this. How long do you think we need to tarry before we get this hope achieved and hope realized?
I believe that the day is very close. For all the imperfections that we saw in this election, we still saw a lot of ground covered. We saw that people's voices, people are beginning to show that they are not satisfied with politics as usual. And that is why the ruling party that won with 15 million votes in 2019 was barely able, even with all the rigging, was barely able to get 8.7 million votes. That is a sharp drop. And that drop tells you that Nigerians are tired of politics as usual. So already the conventional political system has been shaken. So many upsets have already taken place in this election, despite the voter suppression, despite the rigging. Rays of light are already breaking through this cloud of doom. So our Uhuru is not far away. It is near. We are much closer to the end than to where we are coming from. So Nigerian youths, hang on and believe. Next week, Saturday, go out with the same faith and push through. Because like I said, this battle requires resilience. It is not gra-gra. It's not going out to burn cars or burn buildings. No. We must win the battle at the polling unit, no matter what is thrown at you. It is only when this system is defeated at the polls, that is when we will lay a foundation for a new system. If you use violence to win, the same violence you use will be used against you when you're there. But if you stick to the law and you stick to the process and you keep showing up day after day after day and ensure and insist that that process must work, then you are not only defeating a political party, you are defeating an ideology. You are defeating a system and you are bringing into place a new system, a new ideology. And that is what victory really means. It's not just replacing one oppressor with another oppressor or replacing one strong man with another strong man. No, it is replacing a system that favors strong people over ordinary people with a system where all of us are equal before the law. That is the victory we are working towards.
Now, Dike, your piece captured the challenges Nigeria is currently facing and the fact that our leaders are literally playing politics with our future. But we've heard the president-elect call for reconciliation. He's appealed to the youths and promised to work with them. He's also asked that we hold him to account while giving him a chance. Now, is this a good starting point for you, even as aggrieved political parties seek redress in court?
For as long as he is president, he will have all the respect that goes with the office, because the respect is attached to the office and not to his person. As long as he is the president of Nigeria, he will have my respect as the president of Nigeria. It does not preclude those who disagree with the elections exercising their legal and constitutional rights to go to court to challenge this election. But until that happens and the election is upturned, he remains the president. And we will respect him and work with him and follow him as a president. But it is not the obedience of slavery. This is a democracy. And the best way to get the best out of a government is to put pressure on it and keep it on its toes. As somebody who didn't vote the current president-elect into office, I'll gain the most if he turns out to govern properly. Because if he governs properly, I'll gain as much as other people who voted for him gain. And if he doesn't govern properly, they'll suffer just as much as I suffer. So those of us that didn't vote for him stand to gain more if he governs well. And I hope that the fact that the mandate he's standing on is so shaky will put additional pressure on him to at least try and justify being in that office by delivering not just average, but superlative governance. That is what all of us are hoping for, a better life. And if this mandate and the shakiness of it will put pressure on his conscience to work even harder to make us feel that, okay, at least he has done this for us, that is a good thing. So as long as he is the president, he will get the respect that is attached to that office, because I'm a Nigerian and I am patriotic, but it does not stop those who believe that the election was stolen going to court to challenge that mandate.
Well, you've given us a lot of words to marinate on and to think about. Thank you so much for the poem and for joining us this afternoon, Dike Chukwumeriji.